When the sky burned, the first sign came without warning. One moment the night sky was calm, the next it tore open with streaks of fire. At first people thought they were meteors. Children pointed at the sky and families recorded the lights on their devices. But when the meteors stopped in the air and rearranged themselves into perfect formations, the truth became undeniable. Humanity was not alone and the visitors were not peaceful. They came fast and without mercy. The alien fleet darkened the sky above major cities. Their weapons released beams that cut through steel and concrete. Power grids collapsed, satellites blinked out, and global communications fell into chaos within hours. Humanity had spent centuries fighting each other, but now it faced something far worse, an enemy beyond Earth. The first blow was theirs. Entire neighborhoods vanished in blasts of fire. Ships descended and strange armored soldiers marched through ruined streets, driving survivors into the open. Their language was unrecognizable, but their intent was clear: submission or death. In the panic, governments tried to respond. Fighter jets were scrambled, missiles launched. But the weapons humanity had relied upon for defense were torn apart like paper. Soldiers on the ground fought bravely, but their bullets sparked harmlessly against alien armor. Humanity's first line of defense crumbled. In the middle of the chaos, ordinary people struggled to survive. Families hid in basements, farmers gathered supplies, doctors set up makeshift clinics in underground tunnels. Humanity was wounded, but it was not yet broken. The invaders miscalculated one thing. They assumed fear would erase all hope. But history had proven again and again that when humans are cornered, they do not surrender. Among the burning ruins of one coastal city, a group of survivors managed to escape into the mountains. They carried little more than food, tools, and determination. From high ground, they could see the alien warships hovering like vultures enforcing control. The sight should have crushed their spirits, but instead it planted a different seed: anger. The aliens had struck the first blow. But deep in every survivor's heart, a silent vow was made. Humanity will not die like this. We will fight, and one day the last blow will belong to us. Back in the ruins of Earth's underground bunkers, military leaders gathered in secrecy. Communications had been cut, but fragments of resistance networks still functioned. Scientists, engineers, and soldiers met in dark rooms with maps scattered on tables. They whispered of hidden weapons programs, secret technologies long dismissed as impractical. Desperate times demanded desperate measures. Humanity could not win in a direct fight, at least not yet. But the war had only just begun. While the alien fleet celebrated its easy victory, humans prepared for the long road ahead. They had lost cities, armies, and lives, but they had not lost their spirit. Every burned street and every fallen soul added fuel to the fire of resistance. The invaders thought they had crushed a primitive world. They did not understand the truth. Humanity was not just fighting for survival, it was fighting for revenge. And history would remember not the first strike, but the last. Sparks of resistance. The days after the first attack were the darkest humanity had ever faced. Skies once filled with satellites now carried alien warships. Governments were shattered, armies scattered, and cities burned. Entire nations went silent, swallowed by the invaders' control. Humanity had fallen into silence, but silence was not the same as surrender. In hidden places across the planet, sparks of resistance began to glow. Farmers in rural valleys hid downed pilots and passed messages between villages. Mechanics in broken cities repurposed abandoned vehicles into crude weapons. Students who once carried books now carried stolen rifles. Humanity was improvising, adapting, and watching carefully. The aliens underestimated their prey. To them, Earth was a simple conquest, a planet with no unified defense, no fleet to match their power, and no weapons capable of piercing their shields. They thought occupation would be easy, but what they failed to see was humanity's greatest strength, the will to resist even when victory seems impossible. In the mountains, where one band of survivors had gathered, leaders emerged. A retired soldier organized the frightened families into units, training even the youngest to scout, signal, and hide supplies. An engineer began repairing old communication towers, hoping to reach other survivors across the country. At night, they studied the movements of alien patrols, memorizing weaknesses, planning ambushes. One evening, as the survivors watched alien transports move supplies through the valley, a decision was made. They would strike, not with the hope of destroying the enemy, but to send a message. Humanity still lived. Using stolen explosives and improvised traps, they ambushed a convoy. The explosion lit up the night sky, and for the first time since the invasion, alien blood stained the ground. The cost was heavy. Many fighters never returned. But the story of that strike traveled quickly. Across the ruins of Earth, whispers spread, the aliens can bleed. They are not invincible, and with those whispers came courage. Far below the surface, in old bunkers long sealed after past wars, scientists worked in secret. Projects once abandoned as too dangerous or too costly were revived. Energy weapons, stealth technology, experimental fighters, all rushed into development with limited resources. What the aliens did not know was that humanity had prepared for war in shadows, always expecting danger from itself, never imagining it would come from the stars. Now those preparations became humanity's last hope. Every small victory built momentum. A captured drone revealed alien data. A stolen rifle taught engineers how their weapons worked. Every scrap of knowledge became a weapon. The more humanity learned, the stronger it became. The aliens responded with cruelty. For every act of resistance, entire towns were burned. For every ambush, hundreds of civilians were dragged into camps. They believed brutality would break the human spirit. But instead, every atrocity only deepened the anger. Humanity was wounded, but fury kept it alive. In the ruins of an old city, a hidden radio broadcast crackled to life. A voice spoke through the static. People of Earth, you are not alone. The fight has begun. Do not lose hope. Remember, the first blow was theirs, but the last will be ours. The message spread, carried by old radios, scratched onto walls, whispered in dark tunnels. Resistance groups began to connect, forming networks across continents. They were still weak compared to the alien empire, but unity was forming out of chaos. The invaders thought they had ended Earth's story. But in truth, they had written only the first chapter. The next chapters would be carved by human hands, fueled by determination, and paid for with sacrifice. The sparks of resistance had become a flame. And soon that flame would grow into a fire the invaders could not control. Fire spreads across the world. The resistance was no longer a whisper. It was a storm building in the shadows. What began as scattered bands of survivors grew into a worldwide movement. From the frozen tundras to the burning deserts, from shattered cities to remote islands, humanity was waking up. Alien patrols once walked confidently through ruined streets, but now they moved cautiously. Every alley could hold a sniper. Every road could hide a trap. Every supply run risked ambush. What the invaders thought would be a swift conquest was turning into a long, bleeding struggle. The key was knowledge. Humanity learned fast. Captured alien weapons were dismantled in hidden workshops. Engineers discovered how their rifles used focused energy cells. Scientists found ways to recharge them with Earth's own power grids. Soon human fighters carried weapons meant for their enemy. Some even modified them, making them stronger, deadlier. In an underground lab, a group of engineers cracked into the systems of a fallen alien drone. Inside its memory, they discovered maps, deployment zones, command nodes, weaknesses in the aliens' network. The information was sent to resistance cells across the world. For the first time, humanity was not just reacting. It was planning, the invaders noticed. Their commanders grew frustrated. This planet was supposed to be easy prey. But these humans fought with a kind of madness, a refusal to bow. They destroyed bridges to stop enemy transports, cut power to occupied zones, and sabotaged alien machinery. Worst of all, they adapted faster than expected. In one daring mission, resistance fighters hijacked an alien transport ship. They had studied its controls for weeks, risking their lives just to learn how it worked. The raid was bloody, but when the dust cleared, humanity had its first stolen ship. Though damaged, it was proof. Humans could not only kill aliens, they could fly their machines. News of the stolen ship spread like wildfire. Across the world, resistance fighters felt a surge of hope. If one ship could be taken, more could follow. If one weapon could be turned, entire arsenals could be reclaimed. The war was shifting, but hope came with cost. The aliens unleashed harsher punishments. They scorched entire landscapes, leaving cities in ashes. They executed leaders of captured cells to terrify others. Camps grew, filled with starving humans forced into labor. The message was clear. Rebellion would be met with annihilation, and still humanity fought. Deep beneath a mountain base, scientists worked around the clock. They merged stolen alien technology with human machines. Old jet fighters were rebuilt with energy cannons. Drones were repurposed into mobile bombs. Even outdated submarines were armed with hybrid weapons. Humanity could not match the alien fleet ship for ship, but it could strike like a wolf pack, silent, fast, and deadly. One night, the Resistance launched its boldest attack yet. Coordinated cells across 3 continents struck at the same time. Alien convoys exploded, command centers burned, and their patrols were ambushed in waves. The aliens reeled from the shock. For the first time since the invasion began, they were forced to retreat from certain areas. The flames of rebellion spread higher. Civilians, once too afraid to act, now joined the fight. Farmers gave food to hidden bases. Hackers broke into alien broadcasts, replacing their propaganda with human defiance. Children learned to carry messages through the ruins. The aliens had started a war to prove their dominance. Instead, they had awakened something ancient in humanity, unity born in fire. For the first time in history, Earth's fractured nations were fighting as one people against one enemy. The invaders had delivered the first blow. Humanity had answered with fire. And in the growing storm of war, one truth became clear. This was no longer just survival. This was the beginning of humanity's counterattack. The tide turns, the war had entered a new phase. Humanity was no longer hiding in shadows, it was striking in daylight. Resistance groups around the world were no longer scattered fighters. They had become armies, not as large, not as advanced, but driven by something the aliens did not understand: rage and hope combined. The first major victory came in the ruins of a once great coastal city. Alien forces had built a fortress there, using it as a hub to control nearby regions. For months, human scouts mapped every patrol, every landing zone, every weak point. At dawn, Resistance fighters launched their attack. Old fighter jets roared from hidden bases armed with hybrid weapons powered by stolen energy cells. On the ground, soldiers carried both human rifles and alien blasters. The battle was brutal. Streets burned, buildings collapsed, and the sky shook with fire. But this time, humanity did not break. Coordinated strikes overwhelmed alien defenses. By nightfall, the fortress fell. For the first time, a human flag was raised where an alien banner once flew. The victory sent shockwaves across the world. Broadcasts hacked into alien networks showed images of human fighters standing on captured walls. The message was clear: Earth was not conquered. Humanity was fighting back. In alien command ships high above, the invaders began to argue. Reports of growing resistance came from every continent. Their losses were mounting. Supply lines stretched thin, and morale among their soldiers wavered. This was supposed to be a swift campaign, not a drawn-out war. The arrogance of their first strike was now costing them dearly, but victories did not come without sacrifice. Thousands of humans died in the coastal city battle. Entire families were lost, neighborhoods reduced to ashes. In underground shelters, survivors wept and mourned. Yet even through grief, the determination burned brighter. Every fallen fighter became a symbol, every loss a reason to strike harder. In secret labs, humanity's scientists achieved breakthroughs. They discovered how to pierce the alien shields once thought impenetrable. The key was frequency manipulation. By adjusting human-built weapons to match the alien shield's own energy, they created cracks, openings that could be exploited. For the first time, alien ships in the sky were not untouchable. Soon after, a fleet of old human warplanes upgraded with these new weapons launched an ambush against an alien carrier above the ocean. The battle was desperate, with pilots giving their lives in suicide runs. But when the carrier finally exploded in a fireball that lit the night sky, cheers erupted across hidden bases worldwide. Humanity had destroyed its first warship. The aliens responded with fury. They unleashed a storm of destruction, leveling entire cities in retaliation. Yet with every act of terror, they only forged humanity's will harder. Instead of surrender, more recruits joined the fight. Instead of fear, there was fury. The resistance was no longer just defense, it was offense. Coordinated attacks spread across continents. Human hackers disrupted alien communication. Engineers built new hybrid weapons faster than the invaders could adapt. Guerrilla strikes turned into organized campaigns. Humanity was learning to fight like its enemy. But with a fire no empire could extinguish, alien commanders began to fear a truth they had never faced. They were losing control of Earth. Their soldiers, once confident, now walked nervously through the ruins. Every shadow felt dangerous, every sound could be a trap. The invaders realized something terrifying. This planet was not just resisting. It was preparing to win. The first blow had been theirs, but now the tide was turning. And with each passing day, humanity's answer grew louder. Earth strikes back. What began as whispers of defiance had grown into a roar. Humanity was no longer fighting to survive day by day. It was building something greater, a united front, a fortress of Earth itself. Hidden bases beneath mountains became factories. Underground bunkers became command centers. Old mines turned into labs where engineers worked without rest. The fragments of alien technology captured in battle were no longer mysteries, they were blueprints. Every weapon, every drone, every ship the invaders lost was dismantled, studied, and reborn in human hands. The new human war machines were crude compared to alien designs, but they carried one advantage: creativity. Where the aliens relied on precision, humans embraced chaos. Hybrid tanks rolled out of hidden factories with welded armor, mixing Earth steel with alien alloys. Old submarines, once relics of a forgotten navy, now carried stolen plasma torpedoes. Even satellites thought lost were secretly reactivated to feed intelligence into resistance networks. The turning point came when humanity launched Operation Dawn. Across the world, at the exact same hour, resistance forces rose together. In the forests, armored convoys were ambushed. In the skies, hybrid fighters screamed upward to challenge alien patrols. On the seas, submarines attacked supply ships. For the first time, Earth fought as one, a single heartbeat echoing through every battlefield. The operation stunned the invaders. Casualties among their troops soared. More shocking to them was the destruction of not one but 3 alien warships, brought down by coordinated strikes. Explosions lit the horizon, and the world saw with its own eyes that the once invincible fleet could fall. Fear crept into alien command. Their empire had conquered countless worlds before, but never had they faced prey like this. Other planets had submitted after the first strike, but Earth was different. Every act of cruelty had only forged stronger resistance. Every city reduced to rubble had given birth to more fighters. The invaders began to ask themselves, was this war worth the cost? Yet humanity's victory was not without pain. Operation Dawn was bought with rivers of blood. Entire battalions of resistance fighters never returned. Civilians caught in the crossfire perished in thousands. Still, the survivors pressed forward, fueled by grief and vengeance. And then came the greatest achievement of all. In a hidden valley, scientists unveiled the first fully human-built warship, fused with alien technology. It was rough, incomplete, and dangerous, but it could fly. More than that, it could fight. When the ship rose into the sky, powered by stolen energy cores, cheers echoed across the valley. Humanity had entered the stars. The war was no longer only on Earth's surface. Resistance pilots now hunted alien ships in the skies above. Daring raids struck orbital platforms. Each battle was costly, but each victory reminded the aliens that this planet was unlike any other they had tried to conquer. The invaders responded with desperation. They unleashed their heaviest weapons, scorching landscapes, poisoning rivers, and darkening skies. They wanted to break Earth completely, but it was already too late. Humanity had tasted victory, and it would not let go. The war had changed. The aliens were no longer hunters. They were prey, bleeding from 1,000 cuts, trapped on a planet that refused to kneel, and in every hidden camp, every underground bunker, every stolen ship, one promise echoed like thunder. The first blow was theirs. The last will be ours.